Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is the Ring of Honor show for the week. Let's jump right into it with our first match, an up-and-coming star in Ring of Honor, Will Ferrara, versus his biggest test to date in the promotion, Michael Elgin. Michael Elgin picks up the win. Ferrara gets a little bit of offense in. This was more of a story to advance the Michael Elgin versus Ring of Honor storyline going on than it was to build a new guy like Will Ferrara up. I think Ferrara in the long run is going to be a great talent there, and I think he's going to work out well. Sorry about that, folks. It was a fun, interesting match, and good to see Elgin in a way. Kind of, in my opinion, he's been kind of boring ever since winning the World Championship, including this. And you'll see what I say in a minute why I think Elgin's starting to build more interest, at least on my part. Next up we have War Machine, Hanson, and the returning Raymond Rowe versus another set of new characters, or new wrestlers, Anthony Green and Cam Zagami. Green and Zagami, I'm not familiar with them. I don't know where they came from. Sorry about that. Pretty much serve as a way to show us that War Machine's back, and they're back on the prowl, and they're just as dangerous and just as devastating as they have been. After the match, Elgin comes down, challenges his former proteges in Rowe and Hanson and War Machine. They start a match after the commercial. War Machine wins on disqualification after Elgin hits Rowe with a chair. Security has to split them up. So it's going to be interesting seeing where they go with the 1 versus 2 feud going forward. If this is a one-off thing, if Elgin's going to recruit other people into the fold, who knows. Next up we have a match with QT Marshall versus ACH. QT Marshall, kind of underrated talent in Ring of Honor. Good wrestler, gets good heat, good heel mannerisms. ACH, what can you say about the guy? He's a human highlight reel. Good match between the two. ACH picks up the win, the higher profile of the two. Afterwards, we have the Decade come out with the first official appearance of Colby Corino as their young boy. Decade runs down ACH, complain about the opportunities he's got against guys like AJ Styles and Alberto El Patron, where he's lost all his big opportunities, even though he keeps getting put in these matches. They attack afterwards. Colby hits him in the back. Whole time, Steve Corino on commentary is hiding his eyes as to not see what his son is doing because he disapproves of this. Kind of par for the course with what the Decade does. No Jimmy Jacobs out with the Decade at this point, and I don't remember when this was taped, but we all know at this point. Spoiler alert: if you don't, Jimmy Jacobs is no longer with Ring of Honor. He's with the WWE in a writer's capacity, which more power to him. Great. I think he's going to do excellent in the role. I think he's a guy that has a ton of untapped potential, and he's a very creative, very smart wrestler. I think it's going to help him out well. Decade moving forward, just doing what the Decade does, feuding with ACH. I think it's going to be fun going forward. Maybe ACH gets help from Steve Corino, maybe Caprice Coleman, who's been a constant thorn in the side of the Decade, but we'll see. Last but not least, we have the main event of the night, Crazy Mark Briscoe versus AJ Styles. What a match. I mean, how can you go wrong? You got what seems to be such a mismatch, or not a mismatch, but such different talents. You got the brawling, crazy, kind of hardcore style of Mark Briscoe and the technical brilliance that is AJ Styles with the high flying and the innovation of moves. The two matched up so extremely well, and Mark Briscoe, despite what he's billed as being crazy, as being this weird chicken redneck guy, is an amazing wrestler. And him and AJ Styles did not, at any point, did he look like he wasn't on AJ's level. Match was great. It was fun. It was interesting. AJ Styles picks up the win, as he should. He's the IWGP champion. No reason for him to lose a TV match against Mark Briscoe other than maybe you're doing a surprise story. But it was a good match, good fun. Showed the code of honor afterwards. This is the kind of thing that Ring of Honor is known for. Now, jumping off of that, we're going to go right into our ratings. Now, if you've seen our show in the past, or even if you haven't, we have a 1 to 5 scale. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Now, before I give you the number, I do want to say that this is tinged by the amount of stuff they tried to cram in. We basically have 5 matches in a 1-hour show. Now, to me, that's a little much. That's a little too much overkill. Especially for the style of in-ring action that Ring of Honor provides. A 10-minute match in Ring of Honor really doesn't help out. Yes, 3 of the matches were, 2 of them were glorified squashes, and 1 was pretty much an angle-driven match with Elgin versus War Machine. However, still, it's a little bit too much trying to cram into 1 hour for my liking. So it hampered the rating. Again, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. I'm giving the show a 3. I thought the Mark Briscoe versus AJ Styles match was fun. It was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a 5 by itself. QT Marshall versus ACH and the involvement of the decade afterwards was great too. Elgin versus Ferrara and War Machine versus Green and Zagami. I could do out without basically glorified jobber matches. I like that it moved forward the storyline, but it's not Ring of Honor to have these kind of matches. And this is not what I tune in to Ring of Honor for. I tune in to Ring of Honor for the best in-ring matches in North America, basically. But basically, that's all I have to say about that. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of Heel Heat.